What's going on, guys? Well, this is the last tactic video for Ultimate Team of the season. I want to go over some top tips and go over the tactics as well. I want to do this video as the last one in my style. You know, I try to condense it in 8 minutes as much as I can, but I never really like doing that because I can't really show the entire video. People get upset it's too long, too short. So this I'm just going to do it on my style. Actually a few changes. This is the current way that I'm doing it. I'll explain to you how. I'm going to actually show you 6 tactics. But this is how I'm basically lining up going into the game. And the reason for this is, because I've got a bit more time to explain, I would very rarely be in a losing position when I'm tryharding. Sometimes I'll be in a losing position, but I won't be going down like 4-0 all the way. So that 4-4-2 slot at this time of the year wouldn't really be my go-to all the time. It's a bit easier to set up. I'll explain to you what I mean. In fact, I'll do it for you live, so I'll show you the examples. But I got the 4-2-3-1. Still think it's the best for controlling. I still got the 4-3-3. So imagine over here we've got the 4-3-3. As I said, that is more just one with 2 CDMs. That's just to close the game out. So I'll literally pause the game. You've got 3 pauses, and I'll change those defensive tactics when it's around 80, 70 minutes. I know the opponent's going all out attack. That's the way that I do it. And then for the 4-4-2, I'll use it if I'm getting desperate. Of course, I might be unlucky and face a pro player or something like that, but that's just part of the game. And you know, this is going to be the last weekend league. Expect yourself to, I would say, do well. A couple of tips I want to give you. I know it's a bit late now, but anyway. Split your games up. Like, even if you're doing this now over the today and tomorrow, just split them up. It's only 20 games, not like the old school 40 games or even 30 games anymore. 20 games is quite simple. People get only a rage quits as well. Easy wins sometimes as well. Try to split up into 3s. To be honest, people ask why I don't stream that much anymore. There's 2 reasons. One, I just play the game too much and I get sick of it sometimes because it's my job. It's not like I'm playing for fun or like another streamer. My job's to analyze. It's very taxing mentally to do that all day long. Second thing is I get wrist pain. And also for concentration, maybe when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, or even when I start streaming, I was a bit quicker. Nowadays, I can only have concentration up to 3 games, to be honest. I'm very lucky my level keeps it high. That's I can play 10 in a row, but I find myself now after 3 games losing a lot more games or making stupid mistakes. Maybe because of my skill level, I can make up for it. But sometimes I give away dumb wins and I'll be looking back saying, what am I doing? So 3 wins is the way to go. The structure I do it basically is I do it when I lose. Now, of course, this would depend. So let's say, for example, I start the weekend league. I will play 3. I'll split it like this. If you're doing it in one day, try to go like 4-4-4-4 because one day is a bit long. But anyway, try to go 4-4-4-4-4. When you are trying to, that way you can split your games up. So you can do morning, afternoon, evening. But the key thing is have big breaks between these. People, they play 4 games in a row and then they take a 5-minute break. Realistically, the way that I would do it, if you're talking about max efficiency, but also mental power is the most important thing. Like I'm telling you, like it's gonna sound a bit cocksure, but I'm probably one of the most strong-minded people in real life. I don't follow anyone. I call the shots myself. I do whatever I want to do in life. I don't follow anyone. Bit of a maverick. But when it comes to FC, my mental state, before back in the day I could probably deal with it. Now, I'll be honest, the game affects me. It didn't used to, but I think maybe because the more and more I learn the game, and especially I know what I'm doing and the game's not doing it, that's what's frustrating. So I'll play a game and normally I'll just go get a cup of tea or for 5 minutes, walk around, look away from the screen. Really, really important. So that kind of takes some time, but that's good. Even if I get a quick rage quit, I still, if it's like someone gives me a free win, I carry on. But if it's like 45-minute rage quit, I still take a break. Always take a break if you can after game, just to clear your mind and calm you down. It is the most important thing. And then normally I would play till I lose. If you're playing the structure 4-4-4-4, and let's say, for example, on this one, you start, and let's say you go 2-0, and then you go to 2-1, then I will take a bit of a longer break, like 10-15 minutes. Yes, it can prolong your weekend league, but if you want to get the best results, this is the best thing to do, in my opinion. That's if you're just doing it in one day. If you're doing it over 4 days, you even got even better theorem. I'd probably recommend 3 games. So like you can do, let's say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Let's say I'll probably do for example, like 2 games here. Friday's a bit risky to play. A lot of top tier players play on Friday and they repeat their weekend leagues again. So I probably wouldn't even recommend playing on Friday, generally speaking. But anyway, then you can do something like 4 and you can do like 6, and then you can just split it up like that. Then you can see how everything goes. Like, for example, I'm at this stage, I'm looking, okay, is it worth going for rank 1 now? Have I got a loss or 2 losses, then the weekend league's done for me at that point. Like, sometimes I might just get unlucky and maybe I won't hit 10. No, I hit 10 and 2, bit unlucky or whatever, and then that's it for me. It's done at that point. But that's where I'd recommend lining it up. So for the tactics, I've gone my 4-2-3-1. This is, I wouldn't say, sorry, put this on balanced. This is the 4-3-3. Now what I do is I use the exact same tactics as the 4-3-3, because you have to pause the game. So I'll explain to you. So when I start the game, I'll start realistically with 3-5-2. Then I would play this formation to control the game. This one I'm finding more and more important if our opponent's using a 4-3-2-1 and they're committing a player going forward, or sometimes if I'm up against a 4-4-2 pressure-wise, I prefer this formation because you can also attack with it very well. This is like a very attacking and very defensive formation, but you're not going into like a back 5 shape. But a back 5 shape, you can't press as well. And when you're attacking, your left mid and right mids are high up, so you can actually get counter attacks. So I don't really like that when I'm using a 3-back. So these are all the things you have to bear in mind. And with this formation, I've got one, the right back's going forward anyway. So this would be merely a control formation. This tactics that I use. What you can do is you could use, so I'd recommend forward runs here and long ball. So this way that I will do it. These are the tactics. Copy everything the same. You can copy them. Everyone's literally on. This is like try hard. Everyone's on stay central, get it behind, and then come back in offense for all the camp, but get into the box with a cross. So even though this is low, the instructions, don't forget the overwrite tactics. I might do a tactics series. I did one on my Patreon series, but I might do one, or maybe just re-upload them since it's the end of the year. I might give it to you. Some of the videos on tactics. Cut passing lane, step about attacking and cover center for both the CDMs, and left back, right back, stay back, conservative and overlap. And then, as I said to you, so let's say I'm winning 3-0 or 4-0 inside a game. It's going to be such a long video, this one, but anyway. Let's say I'm winning 4-0. I would maybe go down to this formation just to control the game. It's quite important. You know, someone can just turn back just like that. Never let your foot off the gas. I'll tell you, one of the biggest mistakes I have is maybe my own arrogance kind of destroys me inside the game, is I like to dribble around the goalkeeper and I like to mess around when I'm like 1-0 ahead. And sometimes your opponent might just get a corner, score a goal, and then just do a German cross, and you could be 2-1 behind, then you're in a situation. So if you don't mess around, don't take your foot off the gas, especially on Tots team of the season. You should all have a good team now. I'm just going to show you, this is my second account. I don't really play this account that much, but I just want to show you, for example, I've got Madry and Stanway who I put in. And in terms of chemistry, don't sweat too much. If you really care so much, you can put players on 3 chemistry. But as I've always told you, forget what 99% of the community is talking about. Chemistry only affects the boost of a player. So if a player's already got almost 90 stats, unless I need the boost, then I get them on better chemistry. Could I probably tinker the chemistry to get a bit better? Yeah, I used to have Valverde here. I don't really play this account. It's more of a content account. But yeah, in theory, I can take away Madry and I can put someone else. So what I could do actually in theory is I could do something like this and put him over here, and then what I could do is I could then sub on Madry. I can do all these little things, but that's just the way that normally I would set up. For me, the most important player is Alvarez. I kept him in my team. I love this guy. He's my favorite player, favorite Evo that I've done. If he can't finish it, no one else can, or maybe only a few players can. And then I got Correa. So those 2 players have to stay inside the game. This guy's just an absolute god. You could just finesse him everywhere with him anyway. But as I said, I don't really play on this account too much. It's more of a content account. Then you have the 4, so that's it. That's 4-2-3-1. Now let's say, for example, I am losing 70 minutes. So I'm winning 70 minutes, right? And I'm using a 4-2-3-1, but I feel the game is getting a bit away from me. Then is where I change to the 4-3-3 third variation. So all I do is I pause the game and I go here to 4-3-3 third variation, and literally just very, very quickly, I just put everyone on like this. Like this, stay wide to the edge of the box. I put this one player on come back in offense, false 9. And literally, if you just switch it to I'm showing you to the opposite side, you can see you get to those instructions very easily. And then the reason why I like this a bit better, as you can see, I'm actually messing up now because I'm not doing it naturally. But the reason why I like this one is, it's like similar to the 4-2-3-1, except for the cam is a center mid, so it helps out in the midfield. If you've got the companion app, you can put drop between defenders on this player, but that is, I just don't really use it. You can defend that I've not really used the drop between defenders that much this year. Because you got to do it for the companion app, but that is why if you saw me in the last couple of weeks or so, I had the 4-3-3 here as a starting formation, because you can't do drop between defenders, but you can on the game, but you can do it in a companion app, not the other way around. So that's the reason why it was there. So yeah, that's the way that I'll do it. So if I'm inside the game and it's 80 minutes, I'll pause the game and I'll change it to 4-3-3. If I'm winning or I'm drawing, I'm staying on that 4-2-3-1. I'm not going to really worry too much, because you might go to extra time. So that's something I want to know. So it's only if I know I'm going to defense structure, and of course, this goes to slow build-up play and balanced, by the way. So the only thing I'm changing here is the 4-3-3. I just changed the build-up play and chance creation, and of course the instructions. So this way I'm going to more of a defensive set. I know I'm playing to close out the game. I'm basically inviting the pressure in. Then I got the 3-5-2, which I basically use for I would say me personally for majority of the game. This alongside the 4-3-2-1 is what I would say I use the most. I would say if I had to equate them into percentages, I'd probably say these two formations together are like 70% and the rest are 30%. So I would use these most of the time. This one is just the best attacking formation, really. I said you can defend this in the 4-4-2, but I have this as a pure attacking. Stay forward, get it behind. Stay center on the strikers, left mid, right mid, come back in the fence, get in behind. And then let's put it that. Actually swap those players around like so. And then, 1 second, like that. Now, then stay back like this. So I'm always triggering these players manually myself anyway. So this is the formation that I would say most of the time I would just switch to when a game starts. It kind of depends. The only problem with this formation against the 4-3-2-1, you can find it to be a bit weak. It's the main reason why you would find it weak is because you have your opponent's got the 4-3-2-1 and they've got the, traditionally speaking, the right back going forward. So on the counter attack, you got a 3 versus 3. So that is when it'll come down to skill level. So if you use this formation and you know, 1 second, I'm just gonna leave this. I'm gonna edit this out. I'm actually freezing. Put the AC on. Yeah. So in the 4-3-3, you have 3 players against 3 players. Sometimes when you lose the ball, you're going to find yourself available to the counter. That's why these 3 players, I never really had that much time to mention to you, but I've always kind of mentioned briefly, you want pacey players here to recover and ideally good work rates or just pace. So this will just depend. If I'm up against, like, let's say someone else, a fellow rank 1 player, elite player, rank 2, and you can get the gist from like 1 or 2 counters, you can be like, you know, I'm struggling here. Then I'll kind of match them with the 4-3-2-1. But most of the time I'd want to stay in this one because, as I've always said to you, this is like basically a 4-2-3-1 with an extra striker. This is basically a 4-4-2 with a cam. And it's basically a 4-1-2-on-2, a left mid, right mid. I love the structure, the best attacking formation in the game, in my opinion. Even better than the 4-3-2, and although you can argue because of the meta and the movement, that's why it's more effective. But in general, the way the left mid and right mid are involved, I prefer left mid and right mids as opposed to left backs and right backs. Left back and right backs in a 5-back, they're good because they're unmarked. But contrary to belief, people think I love the 4-back in a 4. I hate it because the right back, when the right back goes forward, they're just kind of just there. They don't really do anything unless I'm going to play that cut back playstyle, but that's not really my playstyle, so I don't really like it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if I was going to cut it back and play that way all the time and get a 2v1 down the wing, then it's a bit different, but I don't really like that kind of style of play. So personally speaking, I don't really like the 4-back. I don't like how the right back basically stays towards the touchline, doesn't really help you. In contrast with the 3-5-2, those right mids, when they go forward, they play as a right back in a 5-back, but also they help and they're next to the centre mids. You can pass the balls and you can do a 1-2. You can even be inside sometimes your opponent's back 5 if they've got a back 5 line, or even back 4. You can match the player in the same line up against your opponent's player. So, and you can make that pass into the middle. So that is why I like that. I can always use the player lock if I want to move that player out wide or creative runs if I need to. So that is it. Long ball is what I would recommend if you struggle with L1 triggers. So that, as I said, that's the formation I would use. So this is what I would use most of the time. Now, if I'm in a game and I know I'm up against someone, so I would normally typically stay on this formation up until I win the game. Then maybe I'll go back to the 4-2-3-1, as I mentioned, the 4-2-3-1 over there. then that's the way that I'll do it. If I'm up against someone who I think is well, or let's say sometimes with a 3-5-2, if your opponent's playing a 5-4-1, which is still meta, thank God not everyone in the community is playing it, because everyone just, I suppose, is all influenced by the pro scene. I suppose they see a pro doing this and they copy it because they think, oh, that player's doing that, so I can do it. But of course, there's no 5-backs in the pro scene. But let's say I'm up against someone and I know they're getting past me, or let's say I'm up against a 5-back and I'm struggling. Then I'll go with a 4-3-2-1, because against most typical 5-backs, this formation, you have 3 strikers basically ready for the counter attack. Up against the 5-back, you'll have the 3 versus 3. Up against the fellow 4-3-2-1, most people are going to have the right back going forward. So these strikers will be up against my opponent's centre backs, again creating a 3 versus 3. So that is when I change between them. And I like to change between them a lot. It's maybe not if you're learning the game, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but if you're like a player that's a veteran of the game, you understand shapes and formations, I would say always try to change between these two, because you can be very unpredictable. Your opponent doesn't know what's coming. One minute you're playing a 3-back, well, you're basically still playing a 3-back, but it's a structure. You're playing with left mid, right mid, your central areas is packed out, you've got the cam integral, because without this cam, it makes the formation much more difficult to play sometimes, to build up play. So it does keep my opponents on edge, keeps me unpredictable, so I'll always just switch between them. So you could do that as well. Don't really do that much anymore, because I don't really try hard as much as I used to, but that's something that you could do. But then yeah, this 4-3-2-1 is the one that I just use. Otherwise, apart from that, the other has a 70% distribute between these two, I would use it. And if I can't get past on a 3-5-2, I would just try this formation. Now, one thing I always see, big mistake, I never really had time to address, but I've always replied in the comments and briefly mentioned it. If you go 1-0 ahead, don't just go straight down to the 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. See how the game is. Just like in real life, you know, when a manager at 45 minutes, halftime, I'm sure they tell the team what to do. You know, you don't really. I mean, if I was to manage a team, for example, in theory, right, or let's say manage a game, sometimes you just want to give your players, let them go out, give them 10, 15 minutes, give them some instructions, and if nothing's happening in a game, then make the change. Have the same thing. So if you're going with a 3-5-2 and you're winning 1-0, don't go back down, because sometimes you might find your opponent's weak to that formation. Then you can just keep going at them. And then when they find a counter for it, then you change. So can it be reactive once they're reactive? Don't just go and change first, because also what happens is, psychologically speaking, a lot of players, when they go to a 4-2-3-1 or 3-5-2, and you probably understand this more when you play the game and if you're around about 12 to 15 wins. How many times you go into the game, you get 1 goal and you say, okay, I've scored that goal, but I'm going to be extra safe, and you pass the ball around, you invite more pressure, and you become less attacking. So sometimes the best from a defense is to attack. So you only really want to change once you see how the game goes. Give it like 10 minutes after you score the goal. If you find that your opponent's change system ready, then you change. But don't just go straight to a 4-2-3-1 just because you scored a goal. Keep applying the pressure and keep going for the goal. And then this is the 4-3-2-1 that I use. Very, very similar. The tactics are basically remain unchanged now. It hasn't really changed for about past 3 months-ish. Build up play. People always ask, long ball, you would know to use it. If you sit in this formation, you're like, you know what, Neil, I just can't use it. And to be honest, everyone is using this layout, and pros don't use long ball, but you need to use long ball. Like, it's important if you're new to the game and you're not that good at the game, to be candid. Like, as I said, like, I don't want to sound condescending or anything like that, but it's very important that I make this clear, because people get the people say long ball is bad. Long ball's not bad. They don't know what they're talking about. Long ball is one of the most effective. Even pros use long ball in their gameplay, but a lot of players don't use L1 triggers. Long ball just tells the player to get it behind. In a formation like a 3-5-2, for example, you have players with a get in behind instruction. You don't have that in a formation like the 4-3-2-1. Yeah, on the strikers you do, but not on the centre mids. So a lot of the time, people, they struggle because that centre mid doesn't make the run quick enough. So then you can use long ball. That's why I say long ball's not much of an issue, because you're only really pushing one player forward. But otherwise, if you're fine with the formation, you like to do the 1-2s, L1 triggers, you know, go with that, leave it as it is on balance. And I use direct passing. This for both old gen and new gen. Sometimes I use forward runs. It kind of depends on gameplay. Gameplay is a bit horrendous. I'm sure you probably know. I'm playing on my main account on 5-0 now, but it's not looking good gameplay wise, I'll be honest. So I thought I'd make this video while I'm waiting for gameplay to get a bit better. Anyway, so this is the normal one. It defends in a 4-4-2. This player ends up becoming a right mid, and then these two players are center mids, and then this player becomes a left mid because they're on cover, center, and balanced. These two, so that's balanced, cover wing. These two players on stay back, cover center. This plays on come back and offense, making them come back to make that right mid in a 4-4-2. Left back, stay back, overlap, and then right back is on balanced and overlap. And I said to you, so when this player is going forward, and let's say I'm in a game, and let's say I'm struggling to get by with a 3-5-2. I like this because the strikers are more narrow. That is why I think this combination is probably the best, because this has like 2 strikers and a cam, whereas this has 3 strikers in a row. One thing that I do that I never really talk about, because I just think it's just too much information to give, and I don't think it's going to help anyone. But sometimes I change the width to 1, and the idea is you're compressing your attack. It's not going to make that much of a difference. You know, people think unfortunately, width is not how it's supposed to be. The difference between 1 width and 100 width, do you know the difference? 99% of players don't know the difference. It's like a small difference, but it's enough for you to notice. But when you got 1 width on 3 strikers, they stay together. So if I'm up against someone, they've got quite a wide defensive line, or a back 5 I'm up against, I will change this formation. This works well with 1 width. Or if I'm up against someone, for example, who maybe use their CDMs quite a lot, then I might go for the wing areas in a 4-3-2-1, and I might deliberately put 3 players on 1 width to keep the central areas, to force them to use their CDMs, and that way I can go on the outside. There's a lot of psychology going on as well with the way you move it. So it's kind of like, if I know my opponent's using a CDM, running back with a CDM the entire time, I've got a counter for that. But that is the formation I said I use most of the time alongside a 3-5-2. This is just a new one that I put in. This is basically a 4-3-2-1 on steroids, basically. It's the same structure. You got the 4-3-2-1, but you got the left mid and right mid. Remember how I mentioned to you in a 3-5-2, I like the left mid and right mid. They're more attacking. They're more involved in the game, centrally, I would say, and more in the involved in the game in general. This is just basically a combination of these two, but with the left mid, right mid, you lack the cam, of course, but it's basically the 3-5-2, but then you got the 3 strikers, if that makes sense. So it's very similar to the 3-5-2, and the center mid's a bit higher. To be honest, I kind of use it sometimes in garbage gameplay, or let's say I'm inside a game and sometimes I really can't get through. You know, if someone's using a 5-4-1, I've been noticing this against a 5-4-1. Thankfully, you don't see that more often, but sometimes it's so hard to get through. So I gotta be a bit more attacking. So I got pressure on heavy touch, so you're not overly pressing, and you got 47 width. Now the depth. Pressure on every touch, the best thing to do really is like 55 depth, personally speaking, because this way you have a good combination of, okay, you're being passive, you're playing very high up with a very attacking line, the team stay in a balanced shape, but when your opponent does a heavy pass, or it's a loose ball, or the pass is kind of going astray, your team, they press together. Think of it like using team press for 10 seconds, but the game does it automatically. But I just use 71, to be honest, because I just prefer to press my the entire time. So I would just use balance and 71 as opposed to pushing every touch, like 55 or 65 you can even go to. Then I got balance play because the team moves too quickly. You can't really use fast build-up play or balance for this. And then I've got forward runs, and I got 1 width to make it narrow as possible, as I mentioned briefly in another one. And the reason why I make it narrow is because then when I'm up against a 5-4-1, I basically got a 5v5 up against my opponent's back line. And then normally my 2 center mids are up against my opponent's 2 center mids. So it's only really my opponent's left mid and right mid that are basically free. So I'm concentrating in the middle of the pitch, and I'm creating basically, effectively, you can argue, somewhat of a 7v7, you can argue effectively, and especially against a 5-2-1-2 of the same thing. So this is the formation that I've just been using recently to break it. I was just getting very frustrated. I'm using this less and less. This one it's a bit of a pain in the ass to set up, but these are the instructions. So stay central, get it behind, come back in defense for all 3 cams. So it's not for playing counter attack, but I need them to come back in defense as well. I'll explain that in a second. Left side mid, right side mid, cover center, still while attacking. and the back line's all on stay back. I got my right mid on comeback and offense, getting behind, and I got tail end on stay forward. So basically, you kind of make a back four when you're defending and two centre mids, and I'm basically forcing these players to come back. So you're basically kind of playing in a 4-4-2. You'll see I got all three players on comeback and offense. I just put that as there. Sometimes a striker would come. It depends on positioning as well, but most time it's going to be left forward and right forward. But yeah, that will go here, starting like that. That will go there. That will go there, and then that's the way it will be, like that, to that 4-4-2. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to set up, so that is why I have it in this slot. And then, as I mentioned, to the 4-4-2. Now, as I said to you, I'm very rarely in a situation where I'm losing. Of course, like let's say if I was like maybe getting 15 wins, and maybe I find myself in situations where I was losing. You could even be losing situations in general, but I try not to go all out. So the all out tactic, as you probably know, is the normal one. I'm just going to put the exact ones here. Well, to be honest, you don't even need the exact ones. If you really want to, you just go with formation. Because to be honest, it's not going to make that much of a difference. I know people say, like, you know, you increase the width by 1, it makes a difference. Listen, no one is going to know. Literally, no one is going to know. Like, you know, if you increase the width by 1, it's only like when you go from, it's only certain things like depth, like when you go from 44 to 45 depth, things are different. But if I put the width here to +3, like people act as some game changer difference. Is of course it's not. Do you think? I don't even think even the top tier players will notice a difference, if any difference at all. But then yeah, so I put here, get it behind, and then make sure you put everyone on comeback and offense, basically. So inside the game, I'll do this quickly like this. I'll just put everyone here, comeback and offense. Then I'll put here, stay back. Actually, technically, it's get forward because we're going gung-ho. So it'd be get forward. And then these guys are going to be on stay back anyway. So that's the way that I'll change. So I put everyone on comeback and offense. That way I'm still pressing with this formation. Get forward, cover center, both centre be very attacking. Back four, you keep them in line on stay back. And then I would literally just change this to fast put-up play and this to constant pressure. So you see now, technically, I have the formation here, which is basically the 4-2-3-1. But I can pause the game and change it to the 4-3-3 when I'm going gung-ho. This one is the 4-2-4. Sorry, not 4-4. This one actually the 3-4-2-1. But I can always change it simply to the 4-2-4 as I want to on the fly. Unfortunately, there's not that many slots. I wish there was more slots, but that's the way that I'm doing it. The main thing being the main two formations. That's the system that I find works the best for me, and that's the way that I like it. And then in terms of the actual balance tactic, this is it, balance 30-25. I'm not actually playing this at all. Like, this is just purely my opponent kicks off first. This is my team for chemistry purposes. I put everyone on comeback and offense. So this is if my opponent kicks off first. I got an anti-kickoff tactic. Now, I'm running out of breath, so I'll keep it another short. So you could almost go into a half an hour documentary. That is how I'll play it. Now, in terms of players, generally speaking, pace the most important thing. I like Kirill because the agility and balance and the pinged passing. So I don't really talk about this too much, but maybe I will touch on it now. Kirill being that central centre back with the pinged passing helps me distribute the ball to the CDMs and the left mid and right mids much quicker, especially to play quick on the counter attack. Helps me push the ball and distribute the ball going forward. So that is why I prefer him. I don't really need, to be honest, a good defender per se. I just need two stats: defensive awareness and sprint speed. That's all I need. If I've got the jockey play style, it's a plus. So Kunde, for example, he's the one with the jockey playstyle. Can be a bit aggressive with him. Kind of just hold L2 R2 and get away with murder, to be honest, because what you can do, you shouldn't be able to do the jockey playstyle plus, but you can, and it just makes it overly effective. So that's the reason why I have Kirill. So just two fast players here, not the end of the world, but got ping passing, even better. And of course, agility and balance. Agility and balance is very important for movement. With the ball, when I'm building up, especially when I'm playing with a 3-5-2, I have the ball with these players at their feet, and I'm kind of up against my opponent's 4-3-2-1. Their 3 strikers are running towards me. I got to be able to maneuver quickly. So I like players with good agility and balance and good passing, so I can take a touch away or left stick dribble to trick them around. Especially when you're up against a player that's not the best. I like to show force, show how powerful I am. I want to scare them, and I deliberately hold the ball. I trust myself with left stick dribbling, and I can dribble and outmaneuver my opponent, so they know that they can't press me that well. So they change their system, maybe change a bit more defensive shape. Because I do find that with a 3-5-2, I'm a bit weak on when I'm getting pressed against. So I use the goalkeeper. If you're part of the Patreon series, watch the video on how to play the 3-5-2 structure, and also how to use your goalkeeper as the 11th player on the pitch, the third man, or third player, should I say, in your 2 centre-back line. It's very, very important, goalkeeper, how you use them, and stuff like that. The goalkeeper, I use Casillas for chemistry. I got Alisson as well on the bench. I can always sub Alisson on if I really want to. But I use Casillas for chemistry. I don't mind Casillas, to be honest. I think all goalkeepers either just amazing or garbage. There's like no in between, but you know, that's what I'd say. For the both CDMs, I have Stanway, you can do everything. 44k, absolute steal. Madri, 20k, 30k worth, absolute steal. These are team of the season level players with -1 stat for 40k. So these are some of the best centre mids inside the game, honestly. But they can both do everything, so I love them. Stanway I love the best because she got the pinged pass. So one ping pass, another ping pass. Get the ball to Correa, do a finesse shot. Get the ball to Alvarez, do a 1-2 backwards. That's the way that I'll start. Or I'll distribute the ball to Turland and go throughout the left-hand side. So that is personally why I like Stanway and Madri. They can both do a bit of everything. They can both defend. And if I do an L1 trigger, they've both got decent shooting when they get inside the box and decent long shots. I like them a lot. I don't really want to change it, and that's why I've got that structure. I used to have Valverde here. I did try the other team of the season player. Barella was very good that I tried on my main. Was Barella, was it? And then and I got Benacer as well, untradeable. He was all right. But I just like a centre mid that can do everything but primarily defensive. So they both got shadow on them. So they can be, I'd rather have them have the maximum agility and balance, because we know our finishing's a bit dodgy anyway, but the maximum agility and balance, so they can run back and maneuver quickly. They can dribble. I like to dribble out of tight gaps. I don't like to be clunky. Sometimes I might put Ramirez to be an attacking centre mid, like if I'm losing. So what I'll do is, let's say I'm losing, I'll move Madri to right back, and I put Leia in centre mid, and I sub her off for Ramirez, that centre mid card, the Colombian card, I believe she is. I think she's Colombian, if I'm not mistaken. Apologies. But I really liked her because she's tall, 6'1". She's got 42 defending, but she's very good when you bring the ball going forward and you can attack. And she can still dribble to somewhat of a decent level. But that's where I like that. So 2 players, high agility balance, try to go with jockey, try to do everything. Alvarez, my main striker. So obviously for chemistry purpose, Alvarez is there. But like if I'm using the 3-5-2, Alvarez is the main guy. Alvarez is the guy that's got the 5-star weak foot. I love his dribbling. I know he hasn't really got the play styles. If he had rapid and quick step and like finesse shot, he would be goated, like one of the best. But he doesn't. But it's okay. When you get the ball with him, he's class on the grass. Correa is the cam. He can play that long shot. Now I leave him in second striker because both these players have got both 5-star weak foot. You're just increasing productivity. But Correa, the reason why I like him as well is he can shoot outside the box and inside the box. I don't really play that style, but I've recorded one video, you should have seen it. I think it's on my channel. Just spamming finesse with Correa. I don't really like scoring at goals. For me, I think for most of you guys that watch my videos as well, it's about playing good football and not mechanic abusing. Otherwise, you won't be watching me. You'll be watching this mechanic abusing videos, doing German crosses. But I like Correa because he has that ability to shoot the finesses, and he can always play close. Got good passing, decent passing, so he can do a bit of everything. Weaver is the only player I'm a bit like meh, but she's got good agility and balance. Okay pass. She's actually got good passing, to be fair. And then she can just distribute the ball. I normally can just sub her off. I've got other players I can put on as well. But I like her. Sometimes I put Gold Neymar on as well. I really like Gold Neymar, even still to this day, as I can. but Neymar's just ineffective as a winger in like other formations. That's why I don't really use him that much. But yeah, so the wingers, as I mentioned, that's what I go for. If I can get rapid and quick step, I'll go for those. Correa is very good. And then the left mid, right mid, they need pace, agility, and balance. Long shots are not that important for me. I don't really score long shots, but pace, agility, and balance, and high finishing and good short passing is what I primarily focus on here. And these two players are on the main striker. I said Talon is kind of like Weaver. She just gets job done. Talon and Weaver are two very good cards. They're very cheap, actually. I think like 60k I bought Weaver for. Actually, I packed Weaver on this one. But it's like 60k something. Very good agility and balance, finesse, shot play style, and all that. Very, very good players. And that is basically it. If I had a choice in terms of work rates, the only really work rate you got to worry about is this Weaver card. If it's high in theory, they will come back in a 4-4-2, but also attack equally well. But if you have long ball, it doesn't make that run going forward anyway. That's the only thing here. Excuse me, and Zambrotta, and that is it. But I think I'm actually gonna go to bed now. It's early morning. I can see light outside. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Give you a bit of an overview of the complete tactics video. This kind of video I want to upload every single week, but obviously I can't. It takes so long. To speak this long, trust me, it's difficult. And I understand people just want to see a tactics and just get on going. And that is why with this series, I said to you, when I do my tactics videos, it's kind of just like a tactic update. Sometimes the tactics don't even get updated, and people just say, well, hey, Neil, where's the video? And I just said, oh, there's no changes. So if you never see a video, that's it. I might stop in tactics. No, I might just mess around with some new setups. But this is, I wanted to make sure I started messing around after Team of the Season, Ultimate Team of the Season. That's what I kind of wanted to finish on, Ultimate Team of the Season before. As I mentioned to you, we're kind of going through every formation inside the game. Finish tactics once and for all. So it'll probably be like 2 formations for like two or three variations for every formation. Just to finish off tactics once and for all, to be honest. Because there's so many tactics that I wanted to release that I just never got around to releasing. You know, like this one was a fun one. This is a very good attacking one, similar to the 4-2-3 one. That was a false 9. This is also a very good one. So there's so many formations, but I just didn't have time to release them. And as I said to you, I wanted to give you effective formations, but not one. So I'm just basically saying I'll give you anything. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget, when you bet at C24, you go to my Patreon, so it's patreon.com/Neil. Guys, still uploading. We're going to start uploading again next week or so as well with those videos. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.